Coming in at number 10, we have reptilian shapeshifters. This has to be one of the most bizarre and talked about conspiracy theories out there. If you don't know, I will give you guys a quick rundown. Former sportscaster David Icke decided one day that he was done telling people what the score of last night's footy game was and wanted to warn the world about reptilian aliens that have come from another dimension and have infiltrated every level of elite infrastructure that we have. These shapeshifters are called Anunnaki, and everyone from Kanye West to the Pope to Bill Clinton is one of them. They want nothing more than to steal your life force and see all of us suffer so they can feed off our suffering or something like that. I'm not really sure what it is. If you want some more details on this, you should check out one of the many insane books that David Icke has written on the matter. He claims that he has seen these shapeshifters shift shapes on live television, but it doesn't seem that he has any sort of plan to stop them other than don't use 5G networks. I mean, if you're gonna be the guy who tells us all the problems, you gotta bring in a few solutions. We need doers, not complainers. Coming in at number 9, we have immortals. If lizard people in all major industries weren't enough for you, how about immortals? At least immortals aren't inherently evil, but it's still spooky to think that someone can live forever, because it begs the question, how do they live forever? Is there some sort of ritual or spell that they have to follow? Do they drink the blood of virgins? Or maybe she's born with it, maybe she's Maybelline. But the talk of famous and rich people accessing the fountain of youth has been talked about for centuries. It has most recently been spoken about when people bring up side-by-side pictures of people like Keanu Reeves and Conan O'Brien with their ancient doppelgangers. So what do you think at home? Do you think there are rich and famous people who have found a way to never die and will walk the earth until the sun explodes and our solar system ceases to exist? Or do you think the chances of finding someone who looks like you are pretty high because it happens all the time? There's a bunch of you at home who are watching this who know someone who looks like me. He's Lenny Kravitz. Coming at number 8, we have Veronica Cedar. I feel like if you were born with superpowers, it would make your life so much simpler because you wouldn't have to make any career choices or wonder about what your place is in the world. You would have two options: become a hero or become a villain. Well, that's at least how I see it in my head. If I wanted real answers, I should just go ask Veronica Cedar. Now, Veronica didn't have the coolest superpower ever, but she still had something that was better than nothing. She could see 20 times better than the average person. Like, she could see people from miles away. She could pick up individual markings on buildings that most people couldn't see at all. Now, the question is, did this ability make her life more simple, more complicated, or did it not change anything at all? Coming in at number 7, we have virtual reality. This seems like something that should be the natural progression of technology. We should eventually be able to create worlds inside goggles so that people can abandon their boring lives and venture deep into wondrous worlds that may be more fulfilling than living in the real world. But a digital world that you can slap onto your face that is so real it could be indistinguishable from real life sounds like something pulled right out of the SCP Foundation. Even though we are not at that stage yet where we have VR goggles and software so perfect it can replace real life, we are probably going to get there within our lifetime. Also, the progress into VR tech has manifested the question of whether or not we are currently in a simulation and everything is fake. And if this is indeed a simulation, I would like to know what the cheat codes are because I want an upgrade for my life. This Corona DLC that has been updated into the world has not been my favorite. Next time, let's get something that gives me superpowers. Coming in at number 6, we have the Asp Caterpillar. This crazy critter has worked its way onto this list for 2 reasons. The first being that it has a very strange plume of hair that surrounds it. This bug looks like it was pulled right off your favorite anime character's head and then was given life by another anime character. And the second reason that I've chosen this insect to don the number 6 spot is the fact that it is extremely venomous. This thing won't kill you, but the spines that are hidden in its cool hairdo will send some pain through your body that will give childbirth a run for its money. Coming in at number 5, we have the Voynich manuscripts. An old text that no one can figure out is the perfect thing for the SCP Foundation. The Voynich manuscript is a codex that has some lovely drawings of plants on it that no one has ever seen before, and it's in a language that no one has ever seen before, and it's all locked away in a code that no one has ever been able to get to the bottom of. There are a few theories as to what could be going on with this. Some say that it could be the work of a dark wizard who hid his spells away in a secret language. Others say this could be an alien text, and some say it's all crap. Coming in at number 4, we have ghosts and demons. Are they real? Are they not? Who knows, but enough people believe in them to have everyone freaked out. I think we all have a friend who is convinced that ghosts are real, who swears that they have encountered them. There's also countless stories of people being possessed by spirits. The movie The Exorcist is based on a real possession story, and sometimes at night it can feel like someone is lingering close to you even though it seems seems like no one is around you. Well, let's just hope if ghosts and demons are real, they only like to be cool and do cool things, and they don't want to harvest our souls for their own enjoyment. At number 3, we have artificial intelligence. Now, AI is still at the starting stages. We can create AI to do simple tasks like recognize faces or sort information. It's nowhere close to the self-teaching, all-knowing, dangerous God state that everyone is afraid of. But you have to admit that AI is the exact kind of thing that would be logged away in the SCP Foundation. And there has been some signs of intelligence coming through artificial intelligence systems. Some eggheads over at Facebook decided they wanted to see what would happen if 2 separate AIs could talk to each other, and they quickly developed their own language that communicated way faster and way more efficiently than any known human language. So if we do get to the point where AI is running loose, just know that we won't stand a chance. Coming in at number 2, we have DMT, probably the most intense psychoactive drug on the planet, and the crazy thing is that it's something that naturally produces in your brain. DMT, also known as dimethyltryptamine, is a chemical that is found in all plants, animals, and living things on the planet. It is produced in a pure form right inside your brain and released in large doses when you're born, when you die, and released in small doses when you dream. People have found a way to consume DMT through 2 different methods. Either through an ayahuasca ceremony where people drink ayahuasca tea that can make you hallucinate for up to 12 hours or more depending on the dosage, or there's also when people smoke the pure form of the drug, which gives you a hyper-intense blast for about 5 minutes. People who experience this drug say there's an overall feeling of being transported to another world and they lose all connection with their physical body. Some say that you can use this drug to communicate with the 5th dimension. And if that is true, the SCP Foundation would be all over this interdimensional communication tool. And coming in at the number 1 spot, we have Wim Hof, probably one of the coolest people that you have never heard of. Wim Hof is someone that everyone should be researching because he might be the closest thing to a real-life superhero, and he can teach his powers to you. Wim Hof is also known as the Iceman, and through a meditative breathing practice, he is able to withstand freezing temperatures for an indefinite amount of time. He climbed 24,000 feet up Everest in shorts and sandals. He set the world record for the longest underwater ice swim, where his retinas froze and he had to feel his way out of the exit. He did a long-distance polar ice run barefoot, where his only clothes were shorts. He had to stop halfway because his feet were destroyed with frostbite. The doctors that were accompanying him told him that he would lose both his feet. He laughed, went into a tent, meditated for a few hours, and came out with his feet completely healed, and then continued his run. He has taught other people this breathing technique to master the control of your body. So not only is this guy unlocking human abilities that have never been seen before, he's also sharing them with people. You can literally become a superhero and no one's talking about it. If the SCP Foundation was real, they would be all over this guy.
Starting us off at number 10 is Nosferasu. That creature was utterly terrifying, and beyond the movie, I don't need to see him ever again. Ever. This one comes from Reddit user D-Day Dodger, who shared that when they were 10 years old, their family lived in a farmhouse in this rural area. Their bedroom was actually their parents' walk-in closet, and their bed was on the floor. That would have been very annoying for the parents. Like, what if they wanted to, get down to it, and their little kid was just in the walk-in closet, like, give us some privacy. Either way, one night as the user was sleeping, something awoke them in the middle of the night, and when they opened their eyes, they were horrified. There was this black humanoid figure crouching next to the bed with its face not even a foot away from the user's face. Eyes wide open, the demon was just staring at the user as it started moving closer. Instead of screaming, the user just hid under the blankets, which is a great call for when it's night and you don't want the demons to get you. I used this tactic a billion times while I was growing up, and clearly I'm still here and fine, so it does work. Either way, the user fell asleep while feeling the demon thing breathe on them and woke up the next day alone in their room. All they said was that the demon looked a lot like Nosferasu, and that means I don't see this demon. Nope. Coming in at number 9 is Laura. Back in March of 2015, 22-year-old Laura from Argentina seemed inherently possessed by some demon or another. Her family were concerned, her friends were scared, and the options were getting slim. Bishop Manuel Asuna stepped in and performed an exorcism on her, and the process was grueling. You can see her writhing and banging her head on the ground in the video, and she's doing all that while being held down by 2 women. Bishop Manuel is part of the bishops at Lutheran Charismatic Church, and they all believe that the demon exists. He's not an idea or a theory, he's not something abstract, he's something terrifying, a fallen angel. The devil is not a metaphor, the devil is something real that Jesus Christ faced. The devil looks for the perdition of the human being, and for this he will use any possible evil instrument. And by that, they just mean possessing humans, so they are definitely among us. They're probably all devils. At number 8 we have Lucifer. Back in 1997, Father Gabriel Amorth was confronted with a demon in the form of a young lanky peasant man. Amorth founded the the International Association of Exorcists back in 1994 and has a never-ending list of people who he's exorcised. He shared that some liberations take months and others can take years. Can you imagine being possessed for years? Like, you don't get that time back. What a betrayal. Either way, while the exorcism was going on, Amorth asked Jesus for help and the man started spitting and cursing at him in English even though he could only speak fluent Italian. The guy began to howl and scream and froth at the mouth and was seemingly ready to attack the priest. After more prayers and ritual recitations, he asked the demon what its name was and the man snarled back saying, "I am Lucifer." At this point, the guy's back was unnaturally arched and he was just screaming as his eyes rolled back. The room got so cold to the point ice crystals were forming on the walls and windows, and then the guy straight up started levitating. Say no more, I don't need to continue. Filling our number 7 slot is the Bible. Now I just want to preface this one with the fact I'm not Christian, so I have not read the Bible. I'm taking the information and interpretation of this from sources online, so if something's not completely correct, then I apologize for my ignorance. Just let you know. Olufemi Olusanmi shared on Quora that according to Ephesians 6:12, New King James Version, it says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." Meaning it's simply not normal or human for people to kill, betray, and hurt others. Anytime a human does any of those despicable acts, it's actually a demon doing them. So technically, demons live among us in abundance. Serial killers seem to have happy relationships with their demons, others do not. Suffice it to say though, they are everywhere. Now at number 6 is Home Alone. This story was shared by an anonymous Quora user who said back in 2018, her husband went on a business trip for a night, so she was home alone with their 2 young sons. The wife put them to sleep and then got into bed herself at around 11 PM. For some reason, that night she couldn't fall asleep and kept waking up every hour or so with this feeling that her front door wasn't properly locked. At 3 AM she got out of bed and checked the door, and true enough, it was locked and deadbolted. But I so relate to this. I always think my front door is unlocked even though I've checked it a billion times, but then I go check again because I have OCD, so there's that. Anyway, she went back to bed to find her kids awake a few minutes later. When the sun started rising, someone rang the doorbell and everyone thought the dad had come home early. As she reached the door with her kids, she kept getting this overwhelming feeling to not open the door. Her son goes to open it and she stops him before looking through the peephole and seeing an unknown man with his back to the door. When he turned around, the woman could see his thick black hair and no face. It was just a blank face. She gasped loud enough for the demon man to hear her that he started banging on the door, but she wouldn't open it. This went on for another 10 minutes before he finally left. No face, are you sure it wasn't a lucid dream? That is screwed up. Coming in at number 5 are Wendigos. I've done a 2-part series on Wendigos before, so check those out if you haven't watched them already, but this creature hails from the folklore of the First Nations Algonquin tribes in Canada and the US. Seen as evil spirits or demons, they can possess a human, making them do horrible things like murder, become cannibals, or become incredibly greedy and more. Their reputation is so bad within indigenous communities that Wendigo psychosis is a thing where people are so terrified of becoming a cannibal or Wendigo, but they're also simultaneously craving human flesh with a very high intensity. It's a very paradoxical situation. Between the late 1800s and 1920s, locals of a small town called Roseau in Minnesota reported sightings of the Wendigo. Every time anyone in town saw the demons, someone would unexpectedly die soon after. Not much is known about the sightings or why they occurred, but they eventually stopped, as did the deaths, and everything went back to normal. At number 4 is Julia. Now Julia's case is quite recent. It only happened in 2008, and I say that's recent even though that was 12 years ago, but it seemed like 2. Anyway, Dr. Richard Gallagher, a self-proclaimed man of science, became the go-to guy for exorcisms in the US. He saw it with his own eyes countless times, people suddenly speaking perfect Latin, sacred objects flying off shelves, a whole bunch. So one day he was called to help a woman dubbed Julia. She was a charming normal woman but was also a high priestess of a satanic cult, and one day she went to a priest claiming she was being attacked by a demon. Objects would fly off shelves around her, she knew things about Richard there was no way she could have known, and even when he was on the phone to a priest they both heard her demonic trance voices, which was impossible because she was thousands of miles away and nowhere near a phone whatsoever. Julia gained abilities that she didn't have before joining the cult, and anytime she went into a demonic trance, she'd have no recollection of what had gone on. They tried exorcising her, during which she started speaking in tongues, exhibiting superhuman strength, levitating levitating and changing the temperature of the room, and it ultimately failed. She refused to leave the cult or stop worshipping Satan, meaning the team couldn't do anything for her. Julia eventually got cancer and didn't want to die possessed, but Gallagher never heard from her again and presumed she was dead. Filling our number 3 slot is Amy Stamatis. Back in November of 2006, Amy climbed into an open window of an apartment building in Arkansas and threw herself off of it, paralyzing herself from the waist down. When asked about the incident, she said she didn't jump but definitely fell. Amy had been having dark thoughts for months and started hearing voices telling her to kill herself. While in the hospital, she was visited by a woman who claimed she had raised the dead and that she could see demons inside of Amy. In the months leading up to the incident, weird things started happening to her. At the end of a 24-hour shift at the hospital, Amy fixed up a burned patient and then completely forgot how to do her job. She didn't even know where she was, and that was her last shift. Previously a marathon runner, she couldn't even run straight anymore, let alone pick her clothes out. Pentecostal evangelist Cindy Lawson met Amy and said she saw the demons surrounding her and compelling her to hurt herself and others. Now at number 2 is Gina. So back in 1990, Reverend James Labar performed many exorcisms, one of which were on a Florida teen called Gina. Her exorcism was televised by the ABC network in 1991. Can we just, is that even humane? Gina was hospitalized for displaying psychotic behavior, and she went from that to tabloid fodder. Was she even capable of consent at this time? During the exorcism, which 29 million people tuned into, Gina is strapped to a chair while she barks at the priest and speaks in gibberish. She was possessed by demonic spirits, one was called Zion and the other Minga. The priest pressed a cross to her face saying, "You want pain, I'll give you pain," and then read the Roman Catholic rite of exorcism. After she was sent home, she was re-hospitalized and given antipsychotic drugs within a few days. A psychiatrist claimed the exorcism was a serious risk to her health and that she may just be delusional. Either way, I feel like something that puts you in that vulnerable of a space and at a time you don't have control over what you're doing should not be televised. That's just me though. And finally, at number 1 is Zurich. So this one was shared by Reddit user Hamish051, and he said that back in October of 2017, his band were on a European tour and was staying in a super old building in Zurich. Like, the building was built in 1260, it was old as shit. Anyway, the Airbnb was surprisingly super clean, and Hamish decided to sleep on his blow-up mattress. As the group was getting ready to go out in town, they saw a leaflet on the table telling them how old the building was, which was crazy to them. They honestly had no idea based on how well it had been renovated. Either way, the bandmates went out while Hamish stayed in and went to sleep. He woke up a while later at 3:30 AM due to the sound of a dripping tap. His bandmate had told him he was going to take a bath when he got back, so Hamish was pissed he was being so loud about it. He tried going back to sleep when he felt a large weight on the bottom left corner of his mattress, and it launched him into the air. He had an almost instant panic attack as ice shock went through his body. He felt a nudge and then another one. Hamish took off his blankets and saw the shape beyond the bed. It was this girl who was about 5'6", with hair down to her feet and no face. She was soaking wet and she had no face. He tried to scream but no sound was coming out, so he hid under the blankets and fell asleep terrified. He woke up to see one of his bandmates working at the table and another one, Gary, who was just waking up. He looked like a smacked ass, and so Hamish asked him if he had slept okay, and he said, "Mate, you would not believe me if I told you." Gary and Hamish had seen the exact same demon girl the night before.
At number 10, we have Kitsune. Now, this one has also been associated with Gumiho from Korean legends or Hulijing from Chinese legends. It is a creature that appears as a fox with shape-shifting abilities, and it's commonly a trickster. In the Korean legends, a Gumiho can freely transform into many things, but most commonly into beautiful women. These Gumiho in female form then set out to seduce boys and eat either their liver or their heart depending on the legend. Both Kitsune and Gumiho have also been recorded as far creepier as well. Some have been recorded to be bloodthirsty half-human half-fox hybrids that lurk in cemeteries. They would wait until night and then dig human hearts out from graves and eat them. At number 9, we have La Segua. Now this one comes from a Costa Rican legend, and it originated as a device to scare men into being loyal and stay close to home at night. Men would be charmed by La Segua's beauty as they wander home. She would appear out of a fog with porcelain skin, long black hair, and big dark eyes. Men would just forget about their wives and ask if she needed to be escorted home. They would turn again to look at her beauty, and she had changed. Once they finished their offer, La Segua would be completely transformed. They would look and she would have turned from beauty to a nightmare, appearing as a monster with a horse's head. She would have flaming red eyes and big yellow teeth. She was rumored to make men go insane and sometimes didn't let them leave with their life. At number 8, we have a Lincolnthrope, aka werewolf. Lycanthrope? You tell me. But let's just say I'm not talking about the big bad wolf. But let's be real, he had a pretty convincing moment as the grandmother, and is he a shapeshifter? But let's be real, I'm talking about werewolves. While they are not fully pretending to be human, they come up often enough and it would be wrong not to include them on this list. Werewolves are frequently depicted in folklore and often come up as creatures that wreak havoc on the natural world. They are seen as creatures unable to stop themselves from transforming into a bloodthirsty wolvish beast. They got this curse in some lore as a punishment from God, a kind of divine smite against those who provoked their wrath. Other ways of becoming a werewolf or shape-shifting was by wearing an animal skin or drinking water out of the footprint of an animal. Just a little sip and then boom, wolf. I kind of want to try it. Maybe. On to number 7, a Selkie. When you think of a water-sea-human hybrid, a mermaid might be what comes to your mind. But they are permanently caught in between. They have a human top half and a fishy lower half, but Selkies, on the other hand, they can truly roam the land and sea. Selkies are commonly found in Northern European mythology. Their main form is the seal form, and in order to shapeshift into human form, they need to shed their seal skin. Now, this is risky for Selkies because it is rumored that they need their own original seal skin to return to their seal form. But once they're in human form, they have also been known to lure humans into the sea. They seduce people and create illusions to form a false sense of reality, leading the humans into their death out in the sea. At number 6, Encantado. Now this legend comes from the Amazon. The Encantado are said to be a water cryptid that lives in the Amazon River. Most of the time they are a pink river dolphin, but once a year they come out of the river. They shapeshift into a young man in white clothes for a Brazilian celebration in June. The one thing that doesn't change in their form is the blowhole from the dolphin form, so the Encantado have to wear a hat to keep their disguise intact. Allegedly, it is dangerous to see or be near the Encantado at these festivals. This is because they attend the parties in order to seduce, kidnap, or impregnate young women. Just like other stories like these are thought to be a way to convince young women not to trust handsome strangers because they may just be a pink dolphin in disguise. Encantado, a pink dolphin in disguise. On to number 5, Rakshasa. The Rakshasa is a humanoid being in Hindu mythology. It was also later incorporated into Buddhism. Now, the Rakshasa were created by the breath of Brahma, the creator god in Hinduism, when he was asleep. They apparently were so bloodthirsty they started eating Brahma himself. So Vishnu came to his aid and banished the Rakshasa to earth. They were most often depicted as ugly, fierce-looking, and enormous creatures. They were shown with 2 fangs protruding upwards and having sharp, claw-like fingernails. They are mean, growl like beasts, and have an insatiable desire to eat man, all of the way to the point that they can even smell the scent of human flesh. Some of the more ferocious Rakshasa were shown with flaming red eyes and hair, drinking blood with their palms or from a human skull. Most Rakshasa had magical powers of illusion called Maya, which enabled them to change size at will and assume the form of any creature. Using this, they could disguise themselves as a human. At number 4, the Napurabi. The Napurabi is a ghost that looks human but has no face. They can often feign having human facial features, but can wipe them off like wiping off a chalkboard. An old tale about them called the Napurabi in the Koi Pond goes like this. A lazy fisherman decided to fish in the imperial koi ponds near the Heian Kaio Palace. Despite being warned by his wife about the pond being sacred and near a graveyard, the fisherman went anyways. On his way to the pond, he is warned by another fisherman not to go there, but he again ignores the warning. Once he's at the spot, he is met by a beautiful young woman who pleads with him not to fish in the pond. He then ignores her and, to his horror, she wipes off her face. Rushing home to hide, he is confronted by what seems to be his wife, who then chastises him for his wickedness before wiping off her facial features as well. Just full on like, Cause like just imagine you're chatting someone up and they give you just one of these and just is going like, but like the face is gone. But on to number 3, Ghoul. The ghoul from Arabic folklore is said to lurk around uninhabited places like cemeteries. It lures people to deserted locations or abandoned places to kill and devour them. It is said to prey on young children, drink blood, steal coins, and eat the dead as well. This may be why the lore says they lurk around cemeteries, since they're trying to eat the dead. Now, after eating their prey, they are said to take on the form of the person they most recently ate. Other tales of the ghoul say it dwells in the desert and can assume the guise of a hyena. Using this form, it is said to lure people into the desert wastes. In the vampire book, The Encyclopedia of the Undead, a ghoul is said to roam throughout the wilderness of Afghanistan and Iran. Number 2, Doppelganger. So there are also superstitions that claim the doppelganger is a non-human entity which can alter its physical appearance to literally become someone else and take their place. Obviously, they are not human beings, but they look just like the person they are trying to mimic. In old lore, it was said that the doppelganger consumed the original person once they looked the exact same and met them. The stories of doppelgangers were used to explain early and misunderstood cases of Alzheimer's. Also, they were used as an answer to severe depression or violent thoughts of mothers. The latter was being used as a justification since it was believed that no mother could ever hurt her own child unless she wasn't truly the mother, just someone else entirely. All in all, the thought of someone in your life being replaced by an entity which only pretends to know you and care about you is pretty creepy. And last but not least, at number 1, the devil. So the devil and demons have believed the best way to get humans to sin is to be among their ranks. Essentially, peer pressure. So to do this, devils and demons will assume human form. They can either possess a human or disguise themselves as one. Old folklore says they could easily be spotted, and they often forgot to hide some of their more prominent features. Features like horns on their head or forked tongues. The devil himself apparently forgot to hide his hooved feet quite a bit. Now once devils and demons are found out, they usually disappear, but not always. If the human target doesn't renounce them but instead chooses to make a deal, there could be consequences.
Kicking off the list at number 10, the Tulip Staircase. We'll dive right into the spooky goodness with a 1966 classic. This photo looks like the cover of a horror movie or a Kendrick Lamar album. It looks set up, right? It looks nice. The black and white hue with the ghostly figure slowly making its way up the Tulip Staircase, okay? This photo is from 1966, and experts in photography all agree that this photo here has not been tampered with at all. So how scary is that? Makes you ask some questions, right? We didn't have Photoshop or deepfakes back in 1966. We barely had a camera, right? Haunting, yes, but since it looks almost too good to be true, we'll leave this at number 10. Let's move on. Number 9, power problems. This one's for sure real. Barry went from maybe to definitely real. This comes from a middle-aged man in Oxford, North Carolina. It was his day off work. He was looking to relax all day, just kick back and hang out in the house. Then out of nowhere, on his day off, the lights start to flicker, and immediately the smoke detector also goes off. What's happening? The lights were flickering all over the house, not just in one room. The fridge, the bathroom, any light at all, it was flickering. Even the water started to run by itself, so no, it was not an electrical issue. He filmed all these happenings, of course, but when he looked back at all the footage, you know, after running to safety, he caught this photo of a demon peeking from the other room. Check it out. There's another peeking demon photo on this list. I don't know what it is about demons, but they like peeking out at you. Yeah, it's haunting. Stay tuned. Number 8, house guest. For this next one, we'll be taking a look at a video. I know, I said demon photos. This one's so small that it may as well be a photo. Nothing too crazy happens. Check it out. Keep an eye on the staircase next to the kitchen. Didn't see anything? Okay, what about now? This footage was taken August 8th, 2019. It's around 1 a.m. in the home of an unnamed family. Always a good sign. I've seen too many of those paranormal activity movies to watch this. This is creepy. I wouldn't even be able to watch footage of my own house with those like hidden cameras, you know what I mean? Like I'd be afraid to go through and scroll. What if I find something? Then what? The cat doesn't notice anything in this video, which is either a really good sign or a really bad sign. Because cats see everything, right? They're so mischievous. Cats will be like mid-conversation and all of a sudden just... Number 7, playtime. We know demons like to play games, I guess, so this next one here seems rather fitting. Seeing as it takes place in a Toys R Us. Yeah, you heard me. Bay Area's haunted Toys R Us. They locked its doors forever as of 2018. The aisles may be closed, but do the ghosts still haunt the building? Are there haunted toys walking around? Is there a haunted Buzz Lightyear that's gonna come out and extend its wings at me? The Sunnyvale Toys R Us demon appeared in the background of this photo. Others seen in this photo, you know, people who aren't demons, they all swear nobody else was there at the time of this photo. Nobody haunting, at least. Could this be a spirit caught in a photo that just happens to be at a Toys R Us? I mean, it's kind of funny, but like, you know, ghosts don't have to haunt scary things. They can haunt normal things too. They can haunt hotels, they can haunt old restaurants, and Toys R Us apparently. I don't know. Demons are demons. They can do what they want. Employees have talked about creepy things happening at night at this location. It's not the only time it's happened. Yeah, fun. It turns out that Sunnyvale store is indeed haunted by more than one ghost. The store stood where the Murphy farm once stood. So many think it's the spirit of Johnny Johnson. I don't know, sounds like a Ghost Rider villain. This sounds kind of like a made-up story. But who knows? Ouija boards are considered toys. Can you believe that? So maybe he's just trying to get a phone. Maybe he's trying to get a new phone plan. I don't know. Number 6, Coventry Society Demon. When it comes to these old-timey photos, everybody looks like a ghost no matter what, right? It's always blurry, it's black and white, there's smudges that appear all over the place. So sometimes when you see them, you want to give it a good idea. You're like, oh, maybe it's not a demon, maybe it's a nice ghost. Maybe it's someone who I know who has passed away, and this specific smudge here is them coming to visit. Sure, I'm not gonna knock that, that's a great idea, awesome. Well, it's nice to believe that photos like this from the Coventry Freeman Society shows everybody that demons might actually be real. This event has everybody dressed to the nines, but when you look at the top left over here, you see a hooded figure. Somebody that clearly doesn't belong with the vibe in this room. I don't know what kind of party this is, but this dude does not blend in. He got the wrong memo. He's like, oh, I thought you said it was like a costume kind of thing with like hoods. They're like, no, it's formal, Roger, come on. Nobody else was seen wearing a hood like this, so many believe it was a dark part of the afterlife. Just, you know, photobombing this event. Demons, always pranksters, hopping in at photos, peeking around corners. Classic, they like pranks. Number 5, the Amityville Photo. This photo was taken inside the Amityville house back in 1976. It appears to be a young boy with glowing white eyes. He's pretty hard to miss there. See him? Right there, yeah, you got it, nice, good eye. At first, I thought this was from a horror movie that I missed, you know? Like it looks so obviously fake or set up in some way until you start to read up on the details. This photo was taken with automatic cameras equipped with infrared, so this young lad here probably wasn't expecting a selfie. Photographer Gene Campbell took this photo in 1976, and Gene at the time was working with paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. So that's how you know this bit of history here is real, to some degree. The photo was revealed 3 years after it was taken on the Merv Griffin show, and many believe this is the ghost of the young John DeFeo, one of the boys who lived there in 1974. Number 4, the Specter of Newbie Church. From all the way back in 1963, this photo has been passed around from time to time. We've mentioned it on this channel before, it's pretty good. It's one of the most convincing if you ask me, considering its date. Is this the demon of General Grievous from Star Wars? This guy's, what is going on here? He's haunting, very tall. Looks like he has 4 lightsabers. Reverend K.F. Lord took this photo in England at the Newbie Church, and Lord ensures us that this photo is 100% real. Would anybody named Lord lie to us? You know, I'm just saying. I think not. The photo looks too good to be true, I'll admit. I mean, this entity is literally facing the camera, you know, so I get it. The figure appears to stand on the first step of the altar, yet somehow it's still taller than the altar. Super Tall Demons from 1963. This was almost number 1. Almost. You'll see. Number 3, a helping hand. This photo is pretty old, hence convincing. This time the photographer may or may not have caught a floating spirit hands. Apparently they're a thing. Awesome. I'll show you the photo, you let me know if you see it at first. Take a good look. Anything sticking out? Any little creepy hands crawling around? No? This photo is a group of women who worked in a linen factory. The lady on the far right appears she has an extra hand there, resting on her shoulder. At a weird angle too. Maybe she was scratching her back and then was like, hey, cheese. You know? No, it's impossible. I did the math. I tried. There's no way. I'm a lanky guy. I tried this in the office. There's no way. This is definitely a demon hand. It looks curled almost, the hand. Like, I don't want to roast somebody's hand and say it looks demonic. It's just the fact that we can see the open space next to the right of the lady in the photo and there's nobody standing there. That's what makes this convincing. I'm not like, oh, it's a skinny, veiny hand. That's got to be a ghost. Some guy's like, thanks, man. What? No, there's no one standing there, that's the whole point. This reminds me of the movie Idle Hands. This gives me the creeps. That movie scared me growing up, I don't like it. Phantom hands? No thank you. Unless you're hitting that thumbs up there shall be no phantom hands in my premise. Number 2, ancient Egyptian demon paintings. Yes, I said paintings, okay? Hear me out. This list is full of the most convincing paranormal photos on the internet, but I had to toss in a little treat, a little historical treat. Demons have been putting fear into the minds of ancient Egyptians even 4,000 years ago. Yeah, demonology is not a new thing. It's not like horror movies came out and it's like, oh, there's demons now. Old, really old. Back in 2016, Whale Sherbini, who specializes in ancient religious texts, found the image of not 1, but 2 demons. They found them painted on 2 Middle Kingdom coffins. The demon represented here is the demon Ikinti. It's represented as a large bird with a cat's head, a black cat's head. This evidence was presented at the International Conference on Ancient Egyptian Demonology over at Swansea University in the United Kingdom. Am I attending the wrong meetings in life? I need to go check out some ancient Egyptian demonology conferences. That sounds like a great time. What? Another example of demons being present in ancient Egyptian days was the image of Amut. Amut is a female demon whose body was part hippo, part crocodile, and part lion. Hard to miss. And finally, coming in at number 1, the Manila Demon. No, I didn't say vanilla demon. That sounds delicious. This is much scarier. This is one of my biggest fears in life, okay? To go on a trip, take a bunch of photos with a wind-up camera, that would be the worst. Come back and then find something haunting that I missed in real life in the photos, right? That's like every horror movie, it's the worst. That's exactly what happened when two friends posed for a photo together in the Philippines. This was back in 2000. At the time, they didn't feel anybody grab their arm, which I fully believe because there's no reaction in this photo. Also, if somebody was that close, somebody they didn't know, there's no chance they would sneak into the frame that quickly. Also, is this demon Dobby the house elf? What? This is not a haunting look, but it's definitely a look. It looks like a bridge troll with tiny hands. But either way, I'm all set.
In our number 10 spot, we have the table throwing demon. Okay, here's some crazy footage for you of a possible real life demon. I mean, heck, the Bible has warned us that demons are tricky and they play with us and influence us and make us feel fear. Well, that is seemingly exactly what happens in the video I'm about to show you. Here we have a woman who is sitting in what looks like a banquet hall, and she's on her cell phone when she hears a chair move. She turns around and sees nothing, but then the chair beside her moves and she freaks out and falls on the floor. Then a bunch of chairs and tables begin to move and you see her get so frightened that she tries to stand up and then she falls on the floor again. She could have fainted too, it's kind of unclear. The footage is so wild and it's so clear that this woman isn't an actress and that this isn't edited footage. It's too natural, and I mean, if she is, then man, she deserves an Oscar. If you're liking this video, don't forget to give it a like as it will really help us out. In our number 9 spot, we have Satan. Well, duh, if there was going to be one demon on this list that we all know about, obviously it was going to be Satan himself. Satan was once a guardian cherub, but God found wickedness within him, or so is said in Ezekiel 28:12-15. Luke has also mentioned that Jesus saw Satan fall from heaven like a lightning bolt, and that is how he gained the name of fallen angel. Something that I didn't know until this video though is that apparently Satan does not rule over hell, but is punished and just imprisoned with the other souls in hell. That's interesting. From my understanding, Satan is the king and creator of demons, and these demons have influence and infiltrate society and cause sadness and havoc. So basically, we're living amongst many demons these days. Everywhere you look, everything you hear or read, there's some kind of messaging that hits an emotional chord that makes you feel understood. But then you'll hear something else that is a conflicting perspective, and you also feel understood from that. And the result is that you're left confused, and you feel pulled in many directions, and you will feel vulnerable, and that's when it will be easy to control you. Beware of the influential demons like Satan. In our number 8 spot, we have the Shapeshifters. Guys, I'm a little shocked that the Bible subtly points to shapeshifters. I guess I just assumed that this was a modern day conspiracy theory fueled by the Marvel movies, but no, there is evidence to suggest that shapeshifters have been around and spoken about since before the Bible. Mark said, after these things, he appeared in another form to 2 of them as they were walking into the country. He appeared in another form to 2 of them as they were walking into the country. That's it, they exist. I'm a believer. Also, what's the consensus? Should we just now conclude that Obama's security guard is indeed a shapeshifter? I feel like yes. Who's a believer? Let me know in the comment section below. In our number 7 spot, we have the chair moving demon. Okay, this could be just a ghost or a demon. I mean, who knows? In this clip, you see a girl in perhaps a classroom or a common area as there are computers and lounge chairs, and she seems to be looking at something when suddenly she runs out of the room. Then a few moments later, you see the lounge chair move and the door close. The ghost/demon is having a meeting, so he wanted his privacy, guys. The devil requires privacy. Okay, but seriously, what is this? How is this footage not more mainstream? I'm scared. I hope somebody called a priest after witnessing this footage. This place definitely needs to be cleansed. In fact, we should get the priests of the world to just cleanse the world. We may just need a general world cleansing because clearly the demons are among us judging by this video. I'm scared. I want my mom. In our number 6 spot, we have the Reptile People. Okay guys, we know that there are many references to reptiles in the Bible. I mean, if you don't, then I'm here to tell you that indeed there are. In fact, the Bible starts with Adam and Eve is persuaded by the snake to eat the forbidden fruit, so the stories really begin right away. But there have been evidence of people believing in the Reptile People for many centuries, even dating back to ancient Mesopotamia, where they created an artifact called the Ubaid Lizard Man, which has made people believe that it is possible that they worshipped lizard people, the reptiles. In Revelation 12-9, it is said, quote, "And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. He was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him." The serpent was thrown down to earth, eh? Sounds a lot like a reptile person confirmation to me. Now, whether or not they are demons, that is the question. There have been way too many reptile Hollywood sightings to count, so beware, folks. In our number 5 spot, we have the Lawless One. In the Bible, 2 Thessalonians 2:9, I might have pronounced that wrong, sorry, it's been a while since I've been to church. Thessalonians 2:9, we are warned about the Lawless One who is doing the work of Satan, aka a demon. The coming of the Lawless One is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders. Who exactly this message is referring to? I mean, it could be any number of people in history that promised wonders and things that they could not keep. Historical political leaders that may have tricked the masses. I mean, there have been many, from Genghis Khan to presidents in this day and age. So who's to say who this verse is speaking about, but perhaps at this point this benevolent demon has reincarnated many times over, considering the Bible stories are from thousands of years ago. In our number 4 spot, we have the man that couldn't speak. Demons are spoken about so much in the Bible, and on many accounts, stories are told where it is believed that people have come across these demons. Mark speaks about a demon that made someone's son unable to speak. This demon caused its victim to have epileptic-like seizures, in which he was at times thrown down to wallow on the ground and made to foam at the mouth. No one was able to get rid of this demon but Jesus, after saying to the spirit, "Deaf and dumb spirit, I command you, come out of him and enter him no more." This has led a lot of people over the thousands of years to believe that mental illness is really just demonic possession. Obviously, we know better now about what mental illness is, but you may be surprised to hear that there are still a lot of people that believe that multiple personality disorder is demonic possession. In our number 3 spot, we have the parking lot demon. Years ago, a news station in Serbia called Channel 4 reported the wildest story. Apparently, a woman was in a parking lot when suddenly something invisible started chasing her, and whatever it was jumped from one lamp post to the other. She was so frightened that she went to the police to report that a maniac was chasing her. The police took a look at the footage and couldn't believe what they saw. It looked to be a transparent human running back and forth. Some believe it to be someone from another universe glitching into ours, but the woman swears that it was chasing her, so some believe that it was a demon. It's so crazy to see, and I read that the Bible warned us about a spirit called Abaddon, whom is the leader of the demons, and honestly this could very well be proof of one of the Abaddon demons, as this woman was definitely terrorized by something. In our number 2 spot, we have the Demon Selfie. This is a picture of a demon and a boy, and it's crazy to see. This pic isn't even blurry, so that makes it more horrifying. Basically, a mom from Pennsylvania named Heather was taking a picture of her son. When she looked at the photo, she saw a mysterious person with black eyes creeping out from behind him. She said that there was no one in sight when she was taking her photo but her son, so that is ridiculously insane. This looks like a demon porcelain doll in my opinion. Oh my gosh, that is just the most terrifying. Imagine if she was home alone with her son. I truly hope not. I would never ever want to be home alone again if this happened to me. In our number 1 spot, we have the Brazilian Demon Man. Yo, this has to be the scariest thing I've ever seen. Okay, maybe not, but it is still terrifying to think that multiple people witnessed this. Okay, so in 2015, many reports were being filed about a strange demon-like wolf man in Brazil. It started popping up everywhere, and then someone managed to review street footage and got it captured in a still shot. Here we have a man who looks like he's part wolf, or straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, to be honest. He has long pointy ears and strange wolf-like legs and appears to have a small tail. The shot is blurry as it's night and pitch black, but if this isn't a demon, then I don't know what is. This is definitely one of the demons that the Bible warned us about. Hey Brazilians, beware.
Starting off this countdown, we have Oni. Oni is a demon ogre troll creature from Japanese folklore. This creature is said to be massive, with incredible strength and power. In one text, it said that he is taller than the tallest man, and he is sometimes taller than trees. Oni also has a terrifying face. They are often depicted with having large horns and fangs, with shaggy hair and a bloody red face. In other depictions, they are bluish in color and have lots of eyes, fingers, and toes. So Oni are said to be born after evil humans die and end up in one of the many Buddhist hells. They then transform into this creature and serve one of the rulers of hell. They are said to kill humans out of enjoyment. They have also been known to peel off people's skins and crush their bones. They also are bringers of disaster and spreaders of disease. Isn't that just great? In our ninth spot, we have Shootin' Doji, and if you guys like this video so far and want to see more videos like this, then make sure to give it a big thumbs up because it really helps us out. This is a massive 50-foot tall demon with a red body, 5 horns, and wait for it, 15 eyes. Yes, 15. I don't know why they need that many, but they have that many. Anyways, according to this legend, there once was a boy that was super smart and strong for his age. A lot of people called him a demon child because of this, and then he got ostracized. From there, he started drinking a lot. One night, there was a festival at the temple, and Shootin' Doji showed up very drunk. While he was there, he put on a mask and started pulling pranks on people. But towards the end of the night, when he tried to take off his mask, he couldn't. It had fused with his body. As a result, he fled to the mountains and lived there. Then, eventually, somewhere along the line, he was killed by a warrior. Like, he just got his head cut right off. So, that ended badly for him. Moving on to number 8, we have Suchi Gumo. Anyone here have a fear of spiders? If you answered yes, then this demon is your worst nightmare. The Suchi Gumo are giant spiders. And when I say giant, I mean giant. Like, they can grow so big that they can easily wipe out an entire army. Its name literally translates to giant spider. This demon is said to live in forests and mountains. Like normal people, they use their webs to catch their prey. You know that scene from Lord of the Rings where Frodo gets caught in that massive spider web and then is like paralyzed and it's really gross? Yeah, imagine that, but like 10 times worse with this spider. Now, there are a number of terrifying legends surrounding this creature. In one, this spider shapeshifts into a servant boy and kills others by giving them medicine, which is actually just its venom. In another legend, the spider takes form as a beautiful warrior lady that leads a powerful army. One day, the warriors followed her back to a cave. Then she revealed her true scary self, a giant spider. Then one of the warriors sliced her stomach open and thousands of baby spiders the size of human babies just crawled out of her stomach. Ew, it's disgusting. In our 7th spot, we have Yukiona, otherwise known as the Snow Woman. Yukiona is a young, beautiful woman who uses her looks to lure men to their death. She is considered a snow woman because she appears on snowy nights. She's a tall woman with long black hair and blue lips. Her pale skin lets her blend in with her snowy surroundings. One version of the legend states that Yukiona appears to travelers trapped in snowstorms. She will then kill the travelers with her icy breath, leaving them as a frost-coated corpse. Whereas another version says that she will lead the travelers astray and then just let them die of exposure. That's not all. Sometimes she will feast on them. Just drain her victims of their blood. Yum, we love it. Just kidding, we don't, but it's gross. Moving on to number 6, we have the Snake Woman. The Snake Woman, or Nurona, is a Japanese legend about a weird creature with a body of a massive snake but a head of a woman. She's also got these like creepy snake eyes and long snake-like tongue with fangs and long black hair. It's said that this creature lurks the shores, waiting to pounce on innocent swimmers or fishermen. What she will do is trick them. She will pretend like she's drowning, and then when they go to save her, she'll snatch them and then drag them underwater. She also can paralyze her victims with her eyes, and then use her tongue to suck out all their blood. This legend is used as a cautionary tale to warn children about swimming or going near water at night or by themselves. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Yamoba. Yamoba is known as the Mountain Hag. It's an old hag or witch that lives in the Japanese mountains and forests. Legend goes, though, that they were once human. there was a woman who was accused of a number of crimes, so she fled her town and headed to the mountains. There, she transformed over time and became this creature. Another legend says that this creature was created when there was a famine. Basically, if families can't afford to feed everyone, they would have to make a tough choice of getting rid of certain family members. Typically, it was the elderly. So they would be brought to the woods and left there to die. That's another way people can become these creatures. Some even grow and develop horns and fangs. Typically though, they just look like regular old ladies until they attack. On a number of occasions, Yamoba have tried to eat humans. There's been a number of stories of them catching humans and trying to kill and then eat them. Sometimes, when children are left home alone, they will sneak down and try to eat them. Typically, this was told to children as a bedtime story, to be like, you better behave or else this demonic witch is gonna come down and eat you. What a child-friendly bedtime story. Moving on to number 4, we have Oiwa. The story of Oiwa is a long and complex one, but apparently it's also based on real-life events from the 17th century, so it makes it that much more terrifying. Now, because of the popularity of the story of Oiwa, it's said to be Japan's most famous ghost. So basically, the story goes that Oiwa is a vengeful spirit of a young woman that was betrayed by her husband. Basically, her husband wanted to leave her and marry a younger, richer woman. So, what he did was kill her by giving her poisonous cosmetic cream. When she put it on her face, it disfigured it completely and she passed away. But then she came back as a ghost and continued to haunt her husband until he was driven mad by it. Now, the real Oiwa passed away in 1636, and apparently she still haunts her gravesite. On top of it all, mysterious disasters and deaths have occurred to any production that has tried to produce her story, like theater plays, TV shows, films, you name it. Also, her shrine had to be rebuilt a number of times because it kept mysteriously burning down and getting destroyed. So Oiwa might actually be a real demon still haunting this world. Oh shoot, now she's gonna curse the studio because I just talked about her. Eek! Sorry, Landon. And our third spot today, we have Kenbari Nudo. This is a creepy, perverted ghost that likes to peer in through people's windows, a little peeping Tom. This creature is a bald-looking man that wears a robe and is covered in thick, prickly hairs all over his body. He looks as disgusting as he sounds. So according to Japanese legend, this guy used to go from house to house and peer in through people's windows to try and see them naked. Eventually, he was caught and it was discovered that he had been doing this for quite some time. His family disowned him, and as a punishment, his head was shaved bald. He was then marked as a weirdo and he had nowhere to go, so he just went to the mountains. Until one day when he had an extreme urge to go back and peep on people. So he returned back to his village, but this time he tried to kidnap someone. He failed and he was caught and killed as a result. Now his ghost lives on. So next time you're changing or doing something intimate, maybe, double check to make sure your blinds are closed. Coming in at number 2, we have Gasha Dokoro, which translates to starving skeletons in Japanese. How great is that? Which is kind of an oxymoron though, because these skeletons are huge, like 15 times the size of a human huge. These bone creatures are said to be from people who died in battle or famine. They now roam the wild looking for their victims. Now, you want to stay as far away from these guys as possible, because if they catch you, they will bite your head off and then spray your blood everywhere. And you're kind of doomed if you come face to face with one, because first of all, they're indestructible, but also they can turn invisible, so you'll never see them coming. The only way you'll know if they're near is if you hear a ringing in your ears when they're close by. I'm sorry, is it just me, or are you getting Siren Head vibes from this thing? Like super tall, skeleton-like, and can cause ringing in the ears. Yeah, that's Japan's version of Siren Head. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Oshiro Baba. Oshiro Baba literally translates to the face powder hag. And it will make sense as to why in a second. So basically, according to this legend, Oshiro Baba is an ugly old hag that lives in the mountains. They have terrible posture because their backs are all twisted and bent over. Their face is covered in wrinkles with white face powder just slapped on top. Now, all they want is to be beautiful. So this demon preys on young girls that want to be prettier. Basically, on cold nights, she will appear with a walking stick and wearing a large round hat that covers her face. When she finds a poor girl who craves beauty, she will hand them this magic powder for them to put on their face. But once they apply the powder, it will cause the girl's face to decay rapidly until there's nothing left but a skull. And then Oshiro Baba takes the chunks of flesh that falls off the girl's head and just adds it to her collection. That's disgusting and messed up, if you ask me.
Starting us off with number 10 is the Cyclops Polyphemus. Now hear me out, people, just hear me out. This is real, it is real. Now in Greek mythology, Polyphemus was a Cyclops son of Poseidon and Teucer, and he's also in Homer's Odyssey. In the ancient Greek times, fossils were abundant, but the people also didn't have the knowledge or know how to actually understand what they were looking at. They told stories to each other of savage giants because they found huge bones in the ground, but really those bones weren't from giants. Sicily was a hotbed for finding fossilized remains of giant prehistoric elephants and mammoths, but since the people didn't know what they were, they attributed them to giant humans and, well, cyclopses. Cyclops? Cyclopsi? I don't know what the plural is. The skeleton or even the skulls of any mammoth or mastodon do have all the characteristics of a mythical cyclops. Now their navel cavities were often damaged, and so they looked like a massive centralized hole in the skull, which the Greeks easily mistook for a cyclops, because I mean, what else would be in the hole other than an eyeball? So for many ancient Greeks, the fictional fear of meeting a cyclops became very real when they discovered these fossils and realized, wait, they actually are real and they do walk among us. When really, false alarm, they're just mammoths, you guys. Don't you worry. Just woolly mammoths. We all love a bit of woolly mammoths. I started really liking mammoths after watching Ice Age. Come on, everyone loves Ice Age. Coming in at number 9 is the African unicorn, aka the okapi. Now every time I look at this animal, I legit think it's just a case of Photoshop. Like I always fail to believe this is a natural animal. Looks wise, the okapi is a mix of a zebra, a deer, a donkey, and an antelope, but genetically it's closest to a giraffe, which is already like 6 animals in one. Now their legs and neck are striped like a zebra, their ears and face resemble a deer, but their body shape looks donkey-ish. Now they are extremely rare and can only be found in the Ituri forest in Central Africa. Now if we go back in time, the indigenous people of that area were aware of the okapi's existence, but that was through indirect means like hoof prints and poop, not by actually seeing one. When Europeans came to Africa, they all believed the okapi was a myth told by the indigenous people. They even called it the African unicorn because they just failed to believe it, and because the okapi just hid from them so damn easily. It retained its mythical status to the Europeans until 1901, when Sir Harry Johnston, a zoologist, actually got his hands on an okapi skeleton and its skin and sent it back to Britain, and he was like, take a look at that, people. At number 8 we have the basilisk. Yes, that was me speaking parcel tongue just now, and you don't have to worry about what I said. You know, some things are just private, just between me and it. You know how it is. Throughout history, there's never been a shortage of stories or sightings of the infamous basilisk. Warsaw, 1587, a 5-year-old girl vanished, and her mum and maid turned the town upside down looking for her. They ended up finding her stiff and still in the underground cellar of a house that had been abandoned for 30 odd years. The maid made her way down the stairs, but before she could reach the bottom one, she froze petrified. Years and years later, the story was told that the girl and maid never moved again because they stared into the eyes of the basilisk, the one beast on earth that could kill with just one look. Now even before the Europeans, the Romans believed in them too. They thought basilisks lived abundantly in Cyrene, which is present-day Libya. Pliny the Elder wrote that no man on earth could ever kill the beast since it left a trail of poison wherever it went, and if someone even tried stabbing it, the poison would drip onto his own weapon and end his life. And to be honest, the basilisk was a real animal, or most likely the exaggerated version of one. Now Libya does have a lot of cobras that spit out poison, so it's quite likely that stories of their poisonous spit were just exaggerated and in a Chinese whisper sort of fashion just turn into these snakes that could kill just by looking at you. There's always an element of truth in rumor, you guys, that's what I believe. Otherwise there wouldn't be rumors. Filling our number 7 slot are mermaids. Now we all know a mermaid mermaids are. They're half female, half fish creatures that are present in pretty much every country's folklore. People all over the world reported sightings of these creatures coming out of the sea. Even Christopher Columbus in 1493 wrote that he saw 3 mermaids which rose well out of the sea, but they are not so beautiful as they are said to be, for their faces had some masculine traits. First of all, rude. Secondly, I love how people back then believed more in magic and folklore and legend than people do now. Like, we've just declined as a species for sure. People thought they were real, and I mean, they are. But it was never mermaids people were seeing, they were manatees. So I'm pretty sure Columbus needed glasses, or Jesus, because masculine traits? They didn't even look human. What is man saying? The sightings he and others saw were most likely manatees performing tail stands, which lets them rise vertically out of the water. Their jointed forelimbs let them actually hold things and bring food to their mouths and swim, so I feel like from very far away it became easy for travelers to mistake that as a human eating or treading water, and thus mermaids were born. Now at number 6 are the giant savage man beasts. Now isn't that just man in general? I said what I said. Now back in the 16th century, people were being told stories of gigantic hairy man beasts with horrible tempers living in the wilds all over the world. And since you had no internet at the time, you couldn't exactly debunk the story even if you wanted to. Now the explorer Andrew Battelle told people at home that monsters used to visit his campsite after all the humans had left. Which I don't even know how he knew if he wasn't there himself, but okay Andrew. Well, it turns out these savage hairy man beasts weren't myth or legend, they were real, and they were gorillas. You see, gorillas were obscure up until 1847 when naturalist Thomas Savage finally obtained some gorilla bones in Liberia and this new species was found. I know it's Thomas Savage, but because of the clone I really wanted to say Thomas Savage. It is not. Coming in at number 5 is Bigfoot. Good old Bigfoot. Now I feel like it's tradition by now for it to make an appearance at least once or twice a month on the channel. Like, come on guys, it's Bigfoot. We need him. Very popular in North American folklore, this creature was said to be an ape-like creature that walks upright and lives in the wilderness, as we all know. Despite scientists insisting Bigfoot is not real, I, a qualified non-scientist, beg to differ. Over the years there have been more than 1,000 sightings of Bigfoot as well as pictures, and I know they can't all be real, but I do believe some of them are. In a 2014 poll done by the Associated Press, more Americans believe in Bigfoot than they do the Big Bang Theory, so there's that. I know I backed my statement with that stat, that's a scary stat first of all, but what do you guys think? Is Bigfoot real? He better damn well be. At number 4 is Release the Kraken! And frankly that would have been the biggest missed opportunity if I didn't start with that, so I don't even care. And to be fully honest with you guys, I had never heard of a Kraken until I saw Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest and Davy Jones just brought out the Kraken. A Kraken is a gigantic cephalopod sea monster which in essence just translates to a giant squid. People have been insisting the Kraken is real for centuries. In the 18th century, a Norwegian bishop by the name of Erik Pontoppidan said it was not a myth from any angle since Norwegian fishermen had seen it with their own eyes. Apparently when they row out miles into open water, the Kraken was usually at the bottom of the sea. There would be a bubbling in the water, then all the nearby fish would make a swim for it in panic, and then it would rise from the depths surrounded with seaweed. It was the scariest creature in the ocean and it was as big as 10 warships. And honestly, the fishermen who saw these things may not have been fully wrong. In real life, there is actually no animal as big as a Kraken, but giant squids are 100% a thing. Those things can grow up to 600 pounds and be anywhere from 43 to 46 meters long. So we may not be dealing with a Kraken, but we are dealing with Squidward's mother. Filling our number 3 slot is King Kong. Now the origin story of King Kong is the biggest plot twist ever, like I had no idea. Now before there was King Kong, there was the Komodo dragon. Rumors of enormous prehistoric lizard roaming the islands of Indonesia were rife in the 20th century, and you'd think people would have noticed an 8-foot long 100-pound reptile quite easily, but you'd be wrong. It took until 1910 when Dutch Lieutenant Stein van Hensbroek said enough is enough and went on an expedition to Komodo Island himself. There he caught and killed a 6-foot specimen and brought it back to Java. But that wasn't good enough for American explorer W. Douglas Burden, who went back there 15 years later because he wanted to bring 2 specimens back to America alive. That was a shit show in and of itself, and he ended up killing a bunch of them, but he did manage to bring back 2 alive. When he got back though, he told the whole story to Marion C. Cooper, who also happened to be a film producer. Substitute an 8 ape for the Komodo dragon, and voila, you get the movie King Kong. So I mean, really, King Kong was based off a completely real creature, it just wasn't an ape, it was a Komodo dragon. Now at number 2 are unicorns. These are real, you guys, they are. I don't care what you say. They're described as a majestic beast with a single spiraling horn coming out of its forehead. The people in the Indus Valley civilization mentioned it, the ancient Greeks mentioned it during accounts of natural history, it's present in European folklore in the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, heck the Bible even mentions an animal called the reem, which some versions translate it to unicorn. Now imagine living in whatever year BC without internet or anything and having to explain what a rhinoceros is to someone on the other side of the world that doesn't speak the same language as you. During the 5th century BC, a Greek physician called Theseus went to the royal court of Persia, whose location brought together both sides of Eurasia, meaning everyone was just sharing information. He wrote about the Indian a 4-legged beast with a single horn that came with its own healing properties, and that Indian ass he was describing was a rhinoceros, but it translated to a unicorn. And I mean, really, rhinos are just really the thicker versions of unicorns anyway, thick with 2 C's. Maybe even 3. And finally, at number 1 are mummies, and they're probably the realest thing on this list, and I mean by definition, it literally means a dead animal or human whose organs and skin have been preserved. In a lot of Western fiction, they've always been depicted as dead people who reanimate as mummies. The whole curse of the mummy myth actually originated from 19th century European archaeologists, not the ancient Egyptians. We've excavated enough tombs over the years to confirm that mummies are real, and I mean there have been curses associated with some of these tombs. The biggest and deadliest one being that was unleashed after we excavated King Tutankhamun. He took down so many people while dead, so I mean this myth checks out in every aspect other than the reanimation part, so I give it a thumbs up.
Coming in at number 10, we have the screen. Falling asleep in front of the TV is a pretty normal thing. You throw it on and then you just let the soothing sounds of Netflix take you right to bed. But if you're someone who suffers from sleep paralysis, then that screen can become a gateway into a dark world that should have been locked away. This story starts with someone just falling asleep on the couch, but then next thing you know, their eyes are wide open staring at the screen. There was only static on the screen, which is strange because they weren't watching cable. They went to get up to turn it off, but they couldn't move. Their eyes were open just staring at the screen, and then images started to flash, one after the other. This creature, it had a ghostly white face that never moved. It was almost like it was a mask, and in each image that popped up, the creature would be doing something horrible to what looked like to be the person who was having the sleep paralysis. She kept seeing it torture her in the slideshow from hell. Then it looked like the creature was looking at her through the screen. It kept getting closer and closer until she snapped out of it and woke up. It's safe to say that she never fell asleep in front of the TV ever again. Suspense might mean they should write a horror movie. Their body bag monster would appear behind their door out of nowhere. It was a body bag that clearly had something inside it. Then the thing would flop on the ground and start writhing all over the place like it was trying to escape from the body bag. It would never work its way out, but the tension of what would pop out was always insane. Coming in at number 5, we have Flame On. This next monster sounds like the worst encounter with a human torch you could ever have. A Reddit thread asking about what was the worst thing you've seen in your dreams had a disgusting story about a creature they called the Hell Victim. It would crawl out of the floor and it seemed to have a human body, but it was contorted in horrible ways. The creature would move in jagged movements like it was in pain, and all the skin looked like it was burnt off. In fact, sometimes they said they could smell burnt flesh in their petrified state. The beast would work its way to the edge of their bed, put its face right next to theirs, then they would feel the Hell Victim start sucking the life out of them, and in that moment they would jump out of the bed and regain control of their body. Ugh, that sounds gross. Coming in at number 4, we have screams from the hallway. A common cause of sleep paralysis can be stress, and there isn't anything quite as stressful as having a baby, so it makes sense that having a baby would kick up a struggle with this sleep disorder. But it would obviously make your nights, which are already hard because of your baby, waking up even harder. A mother wrote about the nightmare she went through after her newborn baby was in her home. She would wake up in the middle of the night, stuck in her bed, and hear her baby crying. The cries would change
change to a scream, getting louder and louder, until eventually there was silence, and then menacing laughter would creep in from her open door. When she could eventually move, she would jump out of the bed, rush down the hallway to find her baby sleeping soundly. She wrote after her baby grew up a little bit, the nightmares stopped, but for the time while she was tormented by this, it was the hardest nights of her life. Coming in at number 3, we have tentacles. Everyone has different fears, but there's definitely some common ones. Something that might have been rooted into society by H.P. Lovecraft is the fear of sea creatures. A Reddit user talked about the dread that would come out of their closet. When stuck in a state of woken coma, this person would see tentacles start to creep out from the bottom of their closet door. They would wiggle out and start to move closer to their bed. As they would get closer, they would hear a guttural growl come from the closet, like there was a beast behind the door waiting to devour their frozen body. The tentacles would work their way into the bed and start to wrap themselves around their body. They felt icy and clammy. Right as it seemed the beast had a grip around them and they would be pulled into the darkness of the closet for some creature's midnight snack, they would snap back to reality. Coming in at number 2, we have bugs. I think this is a pretty common fear. It's hard to find people who really love bugs, and even when you watch a YouTube video of someone playing around with insects, the common thought is, what the hell is wrong with that person? So I think most of you at home can relate to this horrible sleep paralysis monster. A Reddit user wrote about their experience with sleep paralysis, which was hundreds of bugs moving around under their blankets, all over their skin, on every inch of their body. Just hearing about this makes my skin itch. If this person looked out into their room while this was happening, they would see bugs all over the room, crawling on the walls, even on the ceiling. The Reddit user said this didn't happen a lot, but when it did, it was absolutely horrible and would make it hard for them to fall asleep for weeks after each event. And coming into the number 1 spot, we have the coffin creeper. This one is horrifying on so many levels, and it combines like 8 different fears into one thing of not being able to move. I snagged this one off of a website where people talked about the worst nightmares they've ever had. Someone said that when they would suffer from sleep paralysis, it would start with them opening their eyes, staring at the roof and not being able to move. This would then progress to the room shrinking. It would slowly start moving in and enclose around their body. This would happen slowly, but fast enough that they would start to panic even though they couldn't move. Closer and closer the room would get to them until it locked around them like they were in a coffin stuffed in a wooden box without the ability to move anywhere. Then they would hear it right beside them. It would seem that they were not alone in their coffin. They couldn't see this thing, but they could feel ice cold hands brush up against them, and then they could hear a voice say, "Welcome." No thanks, guys.